Hi, how's it in the name of Christ? How you doing? It's your girl Cran Cake, Karabo. I hope you're good. I hope you're peachy. I hope you're Stella. And I hope you're in a neat little bunch. If you're not, welcome to the party. Is that not just the story of our lives? So, yeah, whatever. This is an interlude. So it's not gonna have edits or anything like that, other than maybe to add a face of makeup, color correction and whatnot, but not much more. If you watch me consistently, you will know what that all is about. Alrighty, let's just get straight into it. The topic of the day is, I'll give it to you. You sure know how to sting. I'll give it to you. 2 scorpions, 2 spiders, and then a cockroach. And then you sure know how to sting. I am bombarded by a demonic attack yet again. But it is what it is. We just deal. Okay? It's a Saturday. So, proper, I will give it to you. You sure know how to sting. Like, let's give you a round of applause. Let's congratulate you. Let's ululate. If only I had the energy. Anyway. Where shall I commence with this thing? Where shall this conversation start? Have you ever been inside the house of a person that's just dirty, like hoarding? Somebody that just never cleans. You can't for the life of you even drink water in that house. You can't drink juice in that house. You can't, because what in the world is in there? Or if they offer you anyway without asking you, you then look inside this glass and there's all these particles floating on the surface. And all you can do is just be grossed out and not be able to leave soon enough. You want to leave fast and furious, but you're there. Yeah, but at the same time, that person is like your friend or whatever, and you don't want to offend them, so you push it out to 1 hour as you're chilling there, and then you make an excuse to leave. Once you've left, all you can ask yourself is, how does anybody live like that? When you were sitting down, there was a cockroach on the wall, crawling, and then this person went to the wall with their bare hand and whammed it. And said, "Eish, these cockroaches, eish mapela ah." Because she's just that used to it. Because she's just that used to it. A person that's just always spraying. There's always something that she's spraying in the house, because there's always just some pest doing its rounds. Always flies, always ants, always spiders, always, because this person's just dirty. It's hard to visit them. And it's hard to also leave if you want to be decent. Well, I am not decent towards dirty people that hoard and that live in dirt, that live in junk, that think that one day I am going to sit down on their dirty couch and drink from a dirty glass with floating dirty things on the surface, and act like this didn't happen for the sake of decency. I'm not decent, okay? Sorrow has ransacked me for years. I just keep trying to remove this. I don't even know what it is. White cow sunscreen. Sorrow has massacred me for very many years. And as a result, I've lost what is called basic decorum towards crazy people. I do not care for them in the slightest. I tell it like it is. I have established a candor. But it's quite unfortunate that I'm the only person that's gotten to that place, or I'm among the few that just don't take any prisoners anymore. Because frankly, when that person is an entire country, shame. It's just sad for anyone that has to live in the midst of all that crazy. Thank God. The world is ending. I just don't know, how long it's going to take for us to gain relief. I am bombarded by persistence on my person. Evil, like as in nefarious, excruciatingly diabolical men are still trying to marry me. women are still trying to help them. And this is what I gotta say. I repeat myself, indeed, we will admit. And when then I get a new bombardment of crazy trash and more suicide curses and whatnot, I am disillusioned, and I just trudge through the streets, and I don't want to come here and talk, because how many times can I just keep saying the exact same thing? How many times can I keep repeating myself? But you see, there comes a time when proof becomes in the pudding, where no longer now are you evidenced as the only person in the streets suffering from this thing, when everybody out here is basically endured through a crazy time. Women, you and your dirty houses and the cockroaches that you keep on swatting with your one hand, these boyfriends and husbands you keep dating and marrying, that you just merely dump or divorce or fight with and have beef with them and then develop an angry woman syndrome. All of this swatting of these cockroaches off your wall, oh Scorpion. However, with you turning around and helping, that's what's good. More such crazy Scorpions to just win women, to just get women, to just take whatever they want. Whatever you and your dirty house, literally nobody cares for you, but there comes a time when it eventually bites you in the nether regions, it bites you in the behind. It finally comes at you pouncing like a beast in the wilderness. It finally eventually consumes you whole. It crushes your skull as with a steamroller or some kind of factory machinery that a human hand or a human body should not be in, but you're in it. Yeah, your crazy eventually does that. So congratulations for destroying South Africa once and for all. Like, I don't even know what to say. I am sorrowful because I'm in this filthy country. I've been trying to leave. Like, it's been a thing. I've been trying to leave South Africa, but when you have so destroyed a country that people are trying to leave, when that never used to be the case, when you are just be making South Africa like Romania in the 90s, when you are just making South Africa like Bosnia in the 90s, when you're making South Africa like, what is that country? Not Sudan, but could be there. Sudan now in the 2000s. When South Africa is now once and for all officially... when South Africa is officially Rwanda, I had to look for it. Rwanda. In the 90s. In the middle of the genocide. And people are not going to be okay unless they leave. When you've made South Africa like the Ukraine 2 years ago when Vladimir Putin went in there, and now there's a war zone, I'm sorry, all of your envy then starts to become irrelevant and frankly irreverent. It becomes hollow, not ash, it becomes nothing. It becomes the stuff of nonsense, and it's a pity because the Gen Zs that keep on following you behind, tailing your crap, you're crazy, you're rubbish, and they follow suit and they just make magic like you make magic, and they just steal each other's careers. They throw other women under the bus to be taken by licentious men telling themselves that nobody's gonna see me because this here is behind sorcery. Yeah, look at the country you've created for those very Gen Zs, those youth. Look at the country you've created for those very Gen Alphas, hey? The Gen Alphas that are out to be looking at you like you're a freaking role model even though you stink. Even though you keep on swatting cockroaches on your wall with your bare hand and expect a person to laugh at the fact that, oh, just a cycle of constantly complaining about worthless men. A cycle of constantly freaking dumping them. A cycle of dating another one and then dumping them again and getting HIV. A cycle of marrying one and then getting HIV. A cycle of divorcing one and then marrying another one. Like, and then the Gen Zs just go and they just do this again. The Gen Alphas will inevitably, as well as they get older, do it again and again and again. And you think that a country where men have been fed as with a spoon in the mouth, a silver platter on which are they being fed? Given, handed, proper, perfectly viable women on a silver platter, even though they are grubby, even though they are worthless, even though they stank, even though they are putrefaction, the stuff of maggots, that which is a gangrene, metastasizing, even though they are the absolute most voluptuous and comprehensive scum of the entire freaking planet. You're giving them your friends. You're giving them your daughters. You're giving them your moms, your aunts, your female cousins. I need to go and get an ice pack. My phone is overheating. I got an ice pack. My phone hopefully will cool down. But anyway, look, let's just carry on, okay? Talking. I had to retype even my thing over there. I'll give it to you. You sure know how to sting? Yeah, women, whatever. Look, okay. Like when you have putrefied an entire country. Wait, listen, okay. The only reason why men ever did anything different, anything better, was because women frankly realized that they're human and refused to take crap. Men have never, in their own volition, just out of their own sense of morality, ever changed their minds about incarcerating women in an unreasonable ecosystem. They don't just change their minds about harassing women that have not had it coming. They have to be resisted. They're kind of beastly. It's their judgment. Adam was judged and told that from now on you will try to rule women. You will try to rule your wife. Your judgment is that you're going to want to rule your wife. Rule her. While Eve, her desire would be for her husband. So therefore, a person that's a little bit of a despot, megalomaniacal, wants to rule and does not have any interest in actually building character. Goodness gracious, absent of an entire country revolutionizing, standing up and resisting him as a king, he will stay on that throne. What in the world is that? Goodness, I moisturized my hair yesterday and it just showed me flames on my car seat. How gross. I'm like those people in the movie Coming to America with Soul Glow. Anyway, whatever. Unless this person is stood up against by the whole country, unless the entire nation resists him, comprehend, he is not going to do anything different. He is not going to change. It's written in the Bible that an evil person that is congratulated or that is not rebuked or punished will have no incentive to change. Men are inherently megalomaniacal because it's their judgment from God after falling from the garden. From now on, you will try to rule Eve. You will try to rule your wife. So, in order for them to do differently, they have got to be resisted. Because it's not healthy for anybody to live by themselves. You will literally put me at the precipice of the end of my life for rejecting something that needed to be rejected in order for it to do better. You will put me at the edge of my seat until I'm dead. Hence why the title of today is I'll Give It To You. You sure know how to sting. You are serpents and you are scorpions. You are rubbish. Do you understand what I'm saying, women? But like, at the end of the day, with you being able to put me in a position to suffer like this, and also with these men rocking up and just trying to take whatever they want to take because they've been trained that do what thy wilt, for that is the whole of the law. Yeah. Bottom line is, when you live in filth, when you're living in dirt, when you're living in a house, Eritsila, with cockroaches just crawling on the walls, whether or not your guest is disquieted in that house is at that particular juncture irrelevant, because you are the one that lives in all that murk. And when your guest leaves, when the person that has unfortunately visited you leaves. You will be left alone to deal with that junk. You're killing me? Wow. You're ending my life. You think my suicide is the only way out of this? That right? You've told yourself that, let her rather die. Okay, fine. Maybe one day I will die. I told you I'm not invincible. And I am disillusioned about God and why he has left me in this position. I frankly, like, if these animals keep going back to the drawing board with their suicide curses that come with an ultimatum, that I'll let you live if you are with me, one day they will end me. And if the Lord does not very quickly come to rescue me from all of this crazy, I will one day faint. I promise you, I am going to die. It is not something I have ever denied. I have never said I'm invincible. I have just said that God is going to rescue me before I'm out of this world. That's all that I've ever said. I've never said that I'm going to survive this, just lingering, just going. But I am disillusioned, and today is one of those days. And the thing that also really just kind of is getting me, grabbing me, is the fact that I am literally in shock. I'm in awe and disbelief of the fact that women, like, what the heck? Like, you have so stood back and watched crazy men be crazy that now crazy men in parliament are trying to pass a crazy bill. Mamelangne, the country you have created, take it. But understand that I'm not going to live in this South Africa. Okay? I would fast and furious go in a casket in the sweltering sun that we are enjoying today, that is Saturday. I would rather have my body in a casket, release gases, gather maggots, putrefy stink, and be one with the soil, than live trying to fight something that women sat back and did nothing to stop. It's like, how can I describe what I've been going through for the past decade, ever since I lost my job? Imagine being a struggle veteran, a struggle hero, under apartheid. You have been marching, you've been rioting, you've been throwing your toys out the cart. You have thrown Molotov cocktails at tanks of the police coming into the gasis, into the ghettos to try and take the peace and the freedom of black people that are fighting. You have thrown stones at police that are manning high schools, that are coming into homes of parents taking their sons and daughters because they are revolutionaries or whatever, arresting them, and then they don't come home, they get killed. You've been fighting that system, and then finally, hooray, the regime falls and you are now free. You have spent 15 years of your life fighting. You're older, you're in your middle age, but at least now you're free. You started fighting when you were just a kid, but now you're free. And then, right? Just as the freedom is being finished, there then becomes some kind of a coup, a state capture in your country, while negotiations and deals are being made by your government to set the people free because you fought and you've won. There then comes some militia, some guerrillas, some rebel group that is so recalcitrant that they tell themselves that, we're going to Asha and proliferate the apartheid regime, and we're gonna die trying. We're gonna die trying. Like, just when you're at the precipice, just when you have won, just when you are supposed to basically relax now, be at peace, then there's more people trying to fight you. At this point, you're tired, you're in your middle age. I promise you, that's the kind of stuff that if at all the state capture succeeds, if the state capture succeeds, if these coup veterans succeed, if these warriors for the antichrist system succeed, if these people that are trying to maintain apartheid succeed in the midst of what look like, oh, we could be coming out of this very soon. Every person, if most people, let me rather say most to be fair, most of the people that fought to get to the point where at least they are repealing apartheid, I promise you they would be found hanging. They would kill themselves. Because it would look as if though to fix this thing, it will look as if the evil will just overwhelm. It's going to finish us off. When you are bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, starting a fight is worth it. You become a protagonist, you have energy. But when there's so much rebellion against change that people keep on coming up with brand spanking new structures to insist upon the status quo that is destructive and oppressive, people that under normal circumstances were quite heroic and who under normal circumstances was strong, they will kill themselves because it's like the Bible says, hope deferred makes the heart sick and a longing fulfilled is a tree of life. When a person has been fighting and they're tired, and then the fight that they fought gets brought back again when they're at a point of exhaustion, when it looked, however, like they were getting out, people will be shocked out of their minds when they suddenly commit suicide. People will be surprised that a person that survived so much rubbish just died so suddenly. They did not want to stand, they did not want to fight, they did not protest, they were not protagonists. I kid you not. If at all Jesus Christ does not take me out of South Africa, I am going to die. If the Lord lingers this place for another year, 2, if the rapture does not happen as in within the next few minutes, not only that, if there is no change that happens, because of course people are freaking tired. Why wouldn't they be? Why wouldn't they be? If in the midst of what is a 10-year struggle, and that's my struggle has been 10 years long, mine, but I kid you not, right now there are people who've been enduring this for 15 years. There are people who've been enduring this for 25 years. When the people who fought, who entered the gun battle, the knife fight to try and set free and oppress people, including themselves, when a new oppressive regime rises up from the ground and there's no relief, there's no ululating, no celebrating in the streets, just a maintenance of oppression, you are going to lose the only people that actually fought. And that's just the sad thing about losing the only people that fought. When I was on the come up, my grandmother, who was a young woman in the days of apartheid, and she just lived like her whole life was in apartheid. She was one of those complacent apartheid endurers. She was one of those people that basically sat down and waited for everybody else to set the black people free. She did not necessarily approve or agree with the regime, but she would never take up her own arms. She would never have gone to the streets herself. She would never have rioted. She was one of those that ran away when guns were going. She was one of those that hid, that ducked, that basically kept their hands clean so as to not endure ramifications for being a rebel in that time. She was scared of the system, and so therefore was docile under it, and had very little hope that black people are ever going to get anything done, that the oppressed groups would ever get anything done, like coloreds, Indians, everybody that was fighting the system. She just looked at them like, y'all are wasting time. She did not necessarily approve or agree. She wasn't exactly an Uncle Tom for the white supremacist regime, but she certainly was just complacent. She was just standing back, wagging her head, saying, this is never gonna stop. So she didn't have any faith. I remember one time when Der Blunt was doing a speech on the news, saying that he's gonna kill all the black people of South Africa. He's going to ethnic cleanse until we are all gone. I looked at my grandmother and I was like, is he really gonna get to kill us all? And my grandmother was like, yeah, he's gonna get it. My grandmother thoroughly said that that Blanche is going to succeed to kill all the blacks. I was just a kid, so I was traumatized by that statement. Here it is that my grandmother believes a genocide at that level was feasible, possible, where it is that every last oppressed member would perish. She never believed in the overwhelming power of goodness and it being able, therefore, to succeed, to conquer. She was a Christian, a professing Christian. I believe she was a Christian, period, but she certainly lacked faith. She had very, very little faith in an overwhelming and all-consuming God that can uproot wicked structures, monolithic, satanic structures. She was endured through so much of it and had only ever grown up in it. It's all that she knew, to a point of imagining that all of her peers that were fighting were wasting time. Lo and behold, the regime got repealed while she was still alive. She got to vote in 1994. Remokapile to a school to go and vote for Mandela. But in the run-up to that, she thoroughly believed that Eugene Blanche was going to kill all the black people. That type of person looks at those who fought and are grateful eventually for them. But it is also that type of person that gets shocked at how weak all of a sudden the people that fought become when a monolithic structure is trying to rear its ugly head and be maintained. When the kid that marched and rioted and threw Molotov cocktails suddenly just takes themselves out by suicide, or they drink themselves to a stupor till they die, or they just do something that ends them, someone that was so strong and so relied on and so appreciated and respected for the fight that they're fighting, when then they suddenly take themselves out, because herein lies us at 1994 having some guerrilla mobs coming to all the voters at the election to kill them because they know that they're going to vote for Mandela or whatever. And this little civil war, this strike, this amphibious attack on voters then launches the country into yet another war that is going to last another 4 or 5 years. I promise you, people that have been fighting, when this happens, in spite of international scrutiny, in spite of international ostracization of the country, in spite of support that we have from other countries, they would be like, I don't have 5 more freaking years to go. I'm sorry. I don't have 5 more years. When they, on the day of voting, as they're queuing themselves, get this like amphibious guerrilla attack across multiple voting stations that are out here killing voters, dropping them to the ground, mass murder. He might duck those bullets and go home, but just the fact that, see here, futi, hade. I'm sorry. When evil is so prevalent and it just, and complacent people then, after watching it rear its ugly head, then go on right ahead and say, you are naive. What makes you think you're the different person? The spectacular one that's going to change something that's obviously never going to change. Those people, once you wear out the only protagonists for a struggle, the only people that were willing to fight to a point where you could even go to the polls and vote as a black person for whoever you want to vote for, when the people give up, throw in the towel, maybe commit suicide, like just basically give the hell up, when they finally say, this is too much, I can't, when they are now not there, all you're left with is a settling, accepted status quo that is frankly menacing, unacceptable, ridiculous, but like, it's a homeostasis. It is a Stepford freaking country. If you've seen the movie Stepford Wives, you will know that it was of these women that out here got robotized by husbands who fetishized the prospect of a robot wife that did not argue, that cooked, that cleaned, that gave birth, but said nothing else, did nothing else except just be a robot. When you make an entire country Pleasantville, when you make an entire country Stepford. Pleasantville has no color. All the women are just robots. Whoever it is that was trying to riot and create a new narrative, when they die, because they're tired of fighting Pleasantville, they're tired of fighting black and white with no color, they're sick and tired of fighting a zombie apocalypse, when the last of your struggle heroes dies, my goodness, you will be next. Because understand this, to be completely ignored, desecrated, disregarded, to be left to merely exist as a second-grade citizen for the rest of your life, and your kids growing up in that grain, and your kids growing up in that grain, eventually it's going to manufacture just mass deaths, young deaths, violence in the communities that are oppressed, suicides. It's just going to create exactly what happened, frankly, to black people because of apartheid. I will use blacks because I know that it was coloreds and Indians too that were oppressed, but I'll speak for black people for now, just for the sake of simplicity in this argument. I don't want to keep on pillaring and posting all over the show speaking about different groups. We all know that it wasn't just blacks who struggled under apartheid, but I will for now just speak about the blacks. You know what happened to the black community. They became violent, they became lazy, they became poor. Irrecoverably, it appeared, even after apartheid ended. They struggled to break out of the grain. They were so used to being runners, skivvies, gardeners, and maids that they just continued to be maintained in that freaking stance. Still to this day, the majority of domestic workers in the country are black. I promise you right now, that is not a commonality in many other countries. You might think that black people generally are the gardeners, that black people generally are the ironers, the domestic servants, that black people generally are the ones that are doing blue collar work. But if you go to other countries, there is no such division, there is no such split, there is no such issue, there is no such people, a problem amidst that our demographic, amidst black people. There is a fairness and equality in how many percentage of the black community are middle class while others are blue collar, entry level, minimum wage. Go to, for instance, South America, or even the US, America, North America. Some of the domestic servants there, many of them, yes, there are blacks, but every so often a lot of Latinas are domestic servants, something that you would not find in South Africa. Latinas who, they kind of like, if they were South African, if you were to see a Latina in a South African store, you would likely assume, unless they correct you, that they're colored, right? Barely ever would you find colored domestic servants, Indian domestic servants, despite the fact that coloreds and Indians also suffered under apartheid. But you know that there was a sliding scale where it is that we were regarded the scummiest, and then came coloreds next, and then came Indians. There was a sliding scale of favor, and that even BEE laws were fashioned against that sliding scale. Anyway, whatever. Yeah, there are countries where you would find the Tanamount equivalent of what would be a colored domestic servant, or colored domestic servants as just like a plethora, or Indian as a plethora in certain other countries, where it would be like a culture shock for you as a South African to walk in there and see somebody that looks like a little bit of a Candace out here sweeping houses in South Africa. In South Africa, those who are sweeping houses, domestics, it's us, it's black people. Do you understand? We man FMCGs like no man's business. We are the tellers. We are the people selling popcorn at, what do you call this, at movie houses, etc. We are the majority of the entry-level blue-collar workforce, minimum wage workforce. With that being, that is a thing because of what started in apartheid, and we are just not breaking out of it. We are not breaking out of it. So whatever calluses were put in people as a result of years of suffering, they are maintained years after they've been set free. So they basically dangle around in homeostasis in a space that is frankly unacceptable. Is okay, birdie, you can fly now, but they've been caged. And when people have been caged for that long without being able to fly, albeit having wings, you must comprehend that a grain will get created out of them. And this grain will create a society of violent people, gangsters, domestic servants, and painters. If they're going to make an honest living, they are blue collar, entry level. They will only ever be seamstresses for factories. They will only ever be that which is something that's just starting out. You will always just be maintained in that. And a people group that are maintained in that stance will never get to know what it's like to be respected. For crying out loud, they will never get to know what it's like to be educated and to be regarded as important for your voice to be heard. For them to not have to keep on taking seconds, hand-me-downs, scraps from people who think that it's appropriate to give me your leftover dinner. They will never get to know what it's like to essentially feel offended that somebody gave you leftover pizza. They will never know what it's like. It's just normal for them to keep on getting other people's babies' clothes. It's normal for them to keep on getting the dinner that was cooked last week. It's normal. It's so normal that they say thank you when they get these scraps. They appreciate them, they take them home, and then they come back the next week and they say, my son enjoyed the spinach. They don't see that it's just like, why are you okay with being so second grade? You are asking women to be just like what black people are in 2024, 30, almost 30. I think it's 30 years. Look at that. 30 entire years since the first democratic election involving all citizens of the country across the board insofar as they registered to vote. 30 years. 30 years later. And black people are still content with basically Group Areas Act type appointed jobs, vocations. To this day, like, y'all, I'm not even kidding, even Uber drivers are largely black. Any, like, bus drivers, entry-level struggling work is black people's. But go to the US and you will find a white Uber driver. You will also find a Latina Uber driver, a black Uber driver. Across the board, you will find people working entry-level jobs across multiple races because a grain was broken past. A people fought, and they overcame and overwhelmed, therefore, that which is the expected outcome of such people as these. But in a country where people keep on going back to the drawing board of being maintained in wickedness, you are like Haiti, you become a failed state. A country who has a black government, and yet it is oppressing black people. I'm not here to be a protagonist politically for what's going on in South Africa. I'm speaking against the issue, against my gender as a black woman, by black men who have become a monolith just like the apartheid regime. They are the new Verwoerd. Black men are the new Ter Blanche. They're the new National Party. They're the new thing that ought cause the global citizenship to ostracize us from the freaking Olympics. Black men in this country are a destructive gangrene, and I have been speaking for a decade against this as a struggle hero that once had energy, but I am at the end of myself. And the sad and disquieting thing is, the thing that's ending me is not even that which makes sense to end me. I am being, like in the days of apartheid, there was a problem with black on black violence. You will remember how the IFP and the ANC were always shooting each other to death because they couldn't agree on how to overcome apartheid. Women are like that black on black violence against this monolithic structure of black men that has already made it clear that they are happy for us to live in segregated housing under Group Areas Act. Because I'm black, I gotta live in Sophia Town. Because I'm black, I gotta live Kosoweto. If I dare set my foot go Eldorado Park, I'm in danger because it's a colored region. If I dare go to Lenasia, I'm in danger because it's an Indian region. And worse off am I in danger, and worse off can I just be killed on the spot with no right to recourse if I dare go to downtown Joburg, if I dare go to Yeovil, if I dare go to Rosebank, because that's a whites only area. Y'all need to comprehend that Kizame, I tried. I have a spiritual gifting. Not only that, I have been endured through some of the most ridiculous mistreatment by men, like entitlement that I, for the life of me, never expected I would ever see in my lifetime, given that I was born in 1984. I generally, well, latter part of apartheid, I barely felt it. Do you understand what I'm saying? And when it comes to the liberation of women, when it comes to women working, women doing what they want to do, I was born in a sweet spot because nobody was out here trying to lament against the working woman. We were not in a time where women were first starting to lament against being Stepfordy, and then men resist until they let go because they see that these women are not going to let it go. I grew up where equality between girls and boys was already a thing. Hopes and dreams for both girls and boys to dream big, dream large was already a thing. The only issue that would hinder a black person in this country would be apartheid, but I was born at a sweet spot where it was ending, but girls had opportunities that they could now enjoy just like guys. And so it was already at that stage frowned upon for dudes to be still very misogynistic, chauvinistic, old school in the way that they thought, kind of like that Shaka Zulu mindset. Like, yeah, it was already a taboo. When I was on the come up, for anybody to think that way, it was already a taboo. People were already starting to have any kind of even minimal respect for the fact that a woman can do anything. That was the thing. I grew up in the time of take a girl child to school day, right? To help the way career day in my high school, the accountants that would come were black women, and they would tell us I did it, blah blah. So it just became entirely feasible for me to envisage that, of course, it's going to result, I'm going to end up there. Like, this whole thing is going to end up with me also being in a position to come to a high school on career day and tell little girls what, about my job and how I ended up where I was at. So it became excruciatingly shocking, quite the horror, then when I turned 29 and I lost everything. And black men started to act like it was 1907 or something. Like they freaking started to act like it was 1802. And it was shocking, unexpected, came at me like a bat out of hell. But what caught me most off guard was when women were like my grandmother. What the heck? Like, when women were like my grandmother, essentially complacent, saying there's nothing you can do about it. What are you talking about? We already did something about it. Like, this thing ended long ago. This whole polygamy problem, this whole a woman must be barefoot and pregnant in the kitchen making babies, it ended. It did. Like, I promise you, I'm not making stuff up. I was not born in that era. This is not that struggle. Maybe the struggle that I would endure as a young woman on the come up would have been resistance of the new South Africa by old habits die hard type white people who are in denial that apartheid ended. That is something that I can see fighting me, and indeed I did trudge through that. We trudged through that through white folk that were in denial, who out here were still trying to maintain their own little whatever, but just by blowing them out the way they would move, because we were able to speak up for ourselves. And the Samantha with the attitude was just scoot, right? That is the struggle that I could envisage enduring as a young black woman on the come up. But goodness gracious, like, not a guy that's gonna insist that I don't work, don't study. What the heck? Like, I was thrown off a chair in absolute shock and horror to discover that there is a gangrene infiltrating the country where we are literally making like a witchcraft spell and bringing back lost lover, but instead of it being lost lover, bringing back lost, dead and buried, perhaps even cremated ideologies of a misogynistic girth that come from a chauvinistic time and was frankly buried then. I grew up with dudes in high school that were not their grandfathers. I grew up with dudes in university that were not their grandfathers. They're like, proper, ain't nobody out here still thinking like that. What are you, dumb? You would get laughed at by every girl and boy in the room when you have that kind of mindset. That's where I grew up. Everybody had come to embrace what is rather the norm now of letting women be. I grew up doing assignments with dudes, with them respecting my opinion and my inputs. I grew up doing homework with guys. I grew up studying with guys. Goodness, when I was at Wits, we had a study group where it was me, a couple of guys, and a couple of girls, and we would all exchange notes. We were never ever regarded as, "Hi women, please keep quiet, let us as the guys crunch the numbers. Frankly, your opinion don't matter." No. I grew up during a time when it was feasible for dudes to out elect me as the leader of the group for the assignment. And for me to suddenly lose everything, right at 29, when I lost my job at MTN, and then discover that men were harboring a misogyny and a chauvinism that I never ever, like, Papa, nothing was stank of it. There was nothing in the room that stank of it. Of course, every so often you get the jerk in the office that I'll just be telling you. There was this one guy, I remember one time we exchanged notes on email, and he responded with everybody CC'd, including his boss and mine, saying that you're taking this out of hand, you're taking it too far. I can tell it's that time of the month. Yeah, this dude said this in an email, CCing his boss and mine, because already the discussion, the conversation we were having had CC'd the teams. And he easily said that in an email. I was shocked out of my mind. My boss lady called me to calm me down and tell me not to take this to the grass because I must pick my battles. His own boss did not respond, and I was shocked at that, but it was such a shocking whammy that I got condolences from everybody. And so I was able to calm down. It also was few and far between, sparsely scattered, kind of rare. It was absolutely rare. I have worked with misogynistic men. You will always find that jerk in the office. I have worked with chauvinists, but largely dudes were decent. Largely dudes were responding to you properly. Largely dudes respected what you had to offer. Largely dudes were not out here treating you like a woman must not speak. I mean, it was, after all, 2013. 2004, like, what the heck? Guys. So that, when the spirit of that dude that told me that it's that time of the month, when the spirit of the guy that out here be asking you for dinner when you send a document for signing to his desk, when that guy that is 1 out of 26 in a room then suddenly rears its ugly head as actually no, that was the rather deeply held sentiment of all the guys. It's just that the only reason why they didn't manifest that trash was because you were self-raised, you were self-sufficient, you were strong financially, materially. And so therefore they did not just rock up all up in your grill like a 1997 Bugatti Telela. They did not just disrespect you. When I came to learn at 29, when suddenly everything fell apart in my life, when I got sabotaged to lose my career, when I came to learn that the remaining 80%, because indeed I was dealing with 20% of guys that were rubbishes. Every woman deals with the odd misogynist, they're crazy. But there was a time when they were the exception to the norm, so they were not sufficiently scolding to cause PTSD. They were just idiots that you just don't talk to, you ignore them, you walk right by them, they're ignorable. When I came to learn at 29 that the outward peacock flaring, comprehensively arrived, not hiding, ornate and ostentatious misogynist was rather a representation of, however, the covert, hidden, clandestine, behind closed doors, secret misogynist. When I came to learn that there was a spirit that was being harbored by men that manifest and reared its ugly head to the nth degree, once women lost their sufficiency, self-sufficiency. When I found out that 80% of reasonable, decent guys that made it such that the worthless ones did not give me PTSD, when I discovered that 80% was rather tapering towards 10 to 15%, us like it, y'all. I was thrown into a frenzy when I discovered that it's only about 10 to 15% of men that remain that are normal, while the rest, the remaining 75%, while the remaining 85%, while the remaining 85 to 90% of them are this thing. When I found out the hard way, yo, guys, and you know what? I am speaking about the black community. I will literally put this out there. I'm not blanket applying this to white men, Indian men, colored men, because the crazy mistreatment of my person has come from nothing but black men. It's been black men. I have not been this rubbishly treated by any other race of men, so I cannot blanket apply it. That's why Kere, it's just like apartheid, where it is that black people are the ones that are still domestic workers to this day because we were by far the most oppressed, but the oppressive group, instead of this time around it being white supremacy, it is just black men. It's black men. I don't know what the heck is going on over there. They do not get to claim that they were previously oppressed and did not have an opportunity to be manly men because of apartheid. Because how do you account for decent treatment of women by Indian men and colored men? How do you account for people who were similarly oppressed under apartheid, basically building their lives now, moving into the future, do you understand, and seeing what they can do tomorrow without out here trying to keep out from the room one demographic among them, the weaker sex, women. Indian men did not respond to post-traumatic stress after apartheid by incarcerating into obscurity their women. Similarly too with coloreds, and similarly too with any other oppressed group. The Chinese claim Uguti. They were under apartheid too, but not largely. But anyway, whatever, let's give them that pocket because they want it. Alright. Black men are the only ones that became this treacherously violent, and frankly, I can't even tell you what the root cause of that is, but herein lies the comprehensive deal. The level of misogyny, the level of chauvinism that out here be leaving women out on a limb to die if they don't take what they want. I was out of my mind shocked at how heighty it was. And I imagined that because this is obviously an epidemic against women, because this is obviously a problem against women, of course women are going to do that which women always do when men are out here manifesting crap. Stand together. I need the bathroom. We all know that didn't happen. I'm back in Afghanistan. You will remember when Joe Biden pulled out suddenly, wreaking havoc in the lives of Afghani people and some Americans that were there. How it is that some Afghani people were given an option to leave Afghanistan now that the Taliban would be taking over and life would be rough. In Christianity, in the body of Christ there are some people who chose to stay and not leave because they wanted to fight for their country. That is a person that still has fever to fight a wicked regime because they've been given energy by God. But when that person fights and achieves some kind of goal, only to later find themselves afflicted by a repeat offense, that individual will remember the one time that they were offered an opportunity to leave but didn't, and they stayed. But now it's too late. Nobody's coming for you. The official process to get you leaving a country have been taken away. Those opportunities, those avenues, those louvers have been closed. And so this person will end up being inevitably freaking suicidal. I'll be back. I need water.